You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Good evening and welcome to the very special interview tonight. A little change from the spirit dimension because in the studio I have brought on, as you heard the jingle, that was the jingle for the KTPF community radio show, which is hosted by Sue and Steve Taggart with Andy Mercer. Now, we play those shows out on a Thursday evening for you guys. They've very kindly allowed us to play this out. And I thought it was high time that we brought them on the radio to actually hear from them and listen to how they got into everything and where their journey took them through it. So, first of all, good evening, Andy.
Hello. I like that idea. You decided you'd bring them on, did you?
Well, you know, I like to take credit for these things.
But no, I think it's absolutely a brilliant idea that we should bring the guys on. As I say, is for people who listen to us regularly, it must be a bit strange because you hear these two guys talking every week on a Thursday evening, sometimes on a Saturday, and probably wonder who they are. I know some of the people did actually follow me from KTPF onto this platform, if you like, to Parasearch, but obviously you've got lots of new people who've never heard the show live, as it were, before, so I thought it was high time that they got to meet the two people who are the KTPF. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce them, because it's a nice reversal, you see. It's always Sue introducing me, so I'm going to introduce them. So Sue and Steve, hello, how are you?
Hi Andy, hi Kerry.
Hi guys.
This is brilliant stuff. Now I'll shut up and let Kerry do the talking.
Are you feeling all right, Andy?
I know, it's strange, isn't it?
He won't keep quiet for long. We know our Andy Mercer.
I do my best to stay quiet for a while in most shows, but eventually I get dragged in and I have to say something. But
So Sue and Steve, welcome to Parasearch. Thank you so much for letting us play your shows out. We're thoroughly enjoying the interviews that you've done. You've interviewed some incredible people over the time you did it. But I want to know where you started in the paranormal, really, because you were investigating long before you did the radio, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, we started out with another group before we became Shadow Seekers. It was quite weird actually because Steve's mum, she had the grandkids over and she was saying to us, you watch that Most Haunted rubbish, the way she put it, you know.
Yeah.
She said, I'm getting a lot of these orb stuff, so, you know, do you want to come over and have a look? So we went over there one night and we had a few, you know, got a few orbs and what have you, but I thought they were like dust or whatever. But we thought we'd contact, because we didn't know nothing about it, we thought we'd contact Most Haunted Antiques Production, and they told us about a group in Stockport, who in turn told us about a group nearer to us in Tameside, and we contacted them. They came along, set up some stuff, which was basically just a TV and a few cameras and a recorder, and before he hit the record button, an orb came up, flickered and went, and that was all they got all night. So then we started going to their meetings and their investigations, and then me and Steve ended up being part of the team. And then they stopped doing it after about 9-10 months, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, about that.
We thought, well, our original plan was we were going to go on other people's investigations, learn a bit more about it, and then see what happens in a year's time. But it didn't work that way. We just ended up
Swamped. what we ended up with.
We ended up doing our own team, and we did that for 9 years.
Yeah, I think in that first year we did somewhere in the region of 15 to 16 investigations.
Yeah, we was only supposed to be doing one a month.
Yeah,
it didn't work that way.
No, we were getting private ones, we were getting charities, and we just got bombarded.
Yeah, and it was really good. We really enjoyed it. The reason why I wanted to do it was because I wanted to find out proof for myself, and to find out whether there was life after death, and this, that, and the other, and that was the main reason why I got into it.
And for those of you that are wondering, the more you go, the more sensitive you do become.
Yes.
It doesn't make you a medium,
No.
but you do become a lot more sensitive to...
Attuned would be the word.
Oh, okay, attuned to spirit activity, which I'm sure Andy will back that up.
Absolutely. For my years of being involved, there's no doubt about that at all, both from my own personal experiences, but also when I was working with Fright Nights, as you guys know, years back, I was doing them virtually every week. Again, those sorts of things. We had lots of regular attendees, and they would say the same. They were more aware the more they did, because you just have a better feeling for things, definitely.
Yeah, but our prophecy was, if that's the right word, our way of doing it was we wanted people to get involved. We didn't want to be a follow and watch group. We wanted, because they were paying to come on the investigations. We were a non-profit group, by the way. So we was just getting enough money to pay for the investigation itself. We didn't earn anything. Nobody got paid. And we wanted people to get an experience out of it, you know, and we were getting them to call out. We were getting them to use the gadgets, you know, and all this, that and the other. And we just felt as though the best way to do it was to give them an insight into paranormal investigations.
Yeah. For the first 5 years, it really worked. We were sold out before we got halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So did your question get answered, Sue? Did you come out at the other end of it thinking, yeah, it's answered the questions I went into it for?
The only thing I can actually say to you is I've had a couple of weird experiences, but personally, I don't feel as though I've been answered. I don't feel as though it's been answered. Maybe I wanted more every time. Maybe that was the problem. But I was the sort of person that if I was to think or feel that I see somebody in the corner and I could explain to you what I think they look like or whatever, or what I feel there, in the next minute I will turn around and say, oh, did I imagine that? So I was always doubting myself, whether I saw anything or whether I didn't.
Yeah, and this is from somebody who, from time to time, not only sees spirit, but she passes messages on to people.
Yeah.
And yet she still doubts everything.
You know, I can give somebody a message and they'll say, oh, yeah, you know, I'm saying I've got a man with you. You know, one instance, I was talking to a woman. I was doing a tarot reading, actually, to be honest with you. And I said to her, I don't know why, but I'm getting this fella with you. I think it's a father figure. And I don't know whether you remember the advert, but there was a soup advert where this thing was running and it was just a couple of arms and it looked like a bit of a jumper sort of thing. And it would hug you and it was like hugging a mum or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was telling her, I'm seeing this for some reason. I'm seeing this advert. And I couldn't remember what the advert was about, but it's cuddling you or something. And it's... And I'm trying to explain this advert, and she went, hugging a mug. I went, that's it. And it's hugging you. And she said, my dad used to come up to us and go, hugging a mug and put his arms around them. So why am I getting them? This is what I couldn't understand. Why am I getting these messages if there isn't something in it? So,
yeah, and we did make Andy think once on one of our investigations.
The infamous glasses.
Yes, the infamous glasses. Now, we knew the glasses were in a certain area. Andy, as you may know, had a habit of putting his glasses on his chest on the string. Mm-hmm. And we didn't think much of it, to be honest, but he went to pull the glasses off his head and put them on, only to find they weren't his. And he couldn't remember how they got there.
It was bizarre, yes. It was there was a place that the guys had quite regular access to, which was a nice little sort of... It was a storage building, but it was quite old. And I'd seen these glasses. They were just a pair of like gold rimmed glasses some time before, and took no notice of them. I was walking around with, as I say, what I thought were my glasses on top of my head. So anyway, I pulled them down to look at something, and I thought, I can't see anything for this. It's all blurred, and took them off, and it was just the length. It was the gold frame. There was no glass in them. It's like, how the hell did they get on my head? I saw them. I didn't touch them. I was close to them. I never touched the things. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. They're on my head.
Going on to the way the KTPF started, when we finished with the last group, the group that we first was with, when we decided to carry on by ourselves, we got a lot of animosity because we did from them, and so much so that they were actually trying to put us down to venues that we were going to. It didn't work, but because people knew our reputation. But because I didn't want to retaliate to them how I felt, and give them grief, so I put all my energy into the KTPF. And it was like KTPF keeping the paranormal friendly, because I'd seen so much backbiting with that group and how they were to us, and how other groups had mentioned about so-and-so, team have been giving them grief and this, that and the other. I just wanted to find some friendship in the paranormal again, because we were all in it for the same reason.
That was exactly it. That's, as you said before, it's been a recurring, we were talking about this recently on the shows, it's a recurring problem. So that people kind of almost forget this. We're supposed to be working together to a single cause. Okay, you might want to be the one that has the irredoubtable evidence, but we're still working more or less together. Excuse me.
So the KTPF became a forum to start with, sharing it, hopefully trying to share information. We was hoping that other groups would come in, put their report about a certain place, and maybe match it up with somebody else's report to try and validate what groups were getting. That was how I looked at it. That's how I envisaged the KTPF.
Now, unfortunately, we were the only ones sharing.
Yeah, we were the only ones sharing, and it was just a forum. There was no show or anything, and when it first started, it was just a forum. And later on down the line,
we started a chat room.
We started a chat room, and it was just a chat room each week.
That got a bit silly though, didn't it?
It got a bit silly. And then we went to the Weird Weekend, didn't we?
Yeah.
And which is a weekend down in Devon that deals with cryptozoology things.
Yeah, they do it every year.
Paranormal
It's
stuff.
really good.
It's a paranormal umbrella for everything, UFOs, a lot. And we were invited down there, and we said we'd do an interview, didn't we?
Yep, took the camcorder, first time we'd used it.
Yeah, and that's how the interview radio side of it turned up, wasn't it?
It did. We did that first, and then we thought, why not actually do it? It took us a little while to put it together, and fortunately the likes of Andy and other people decided to come in and actually listen to us.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, me and Sue were learning all the way.
Yeah, we've never done radio.
Done radio before. We didn't know that much about the paranormal, to be honest.
Part of it was an idea that I had because there was a show on in Liverpool called Zone Unknown that we went to.
We did that a couple of times.
We were with Roy Basnick, and he'd invited us as guests a couple of times. And I didn't realise until later that we were classed as the original crew.
Yeah, we were the first ones on.
Part of the original
first team on, anyway.
Yeah, and when that stopped, I felt as though maybe we could do a bridge until he came back.
But he never did.
But he never did, you know, and that was where I got the premise from it, you know, having interviews on and getting people to come on.
And our first guest was Richard from the Weird Weekend.
Richard Freeman, who is a cryptozoologist.
And he's I think he's still I don't think he's found it yet, but he's still looking for the orang pendek.
Yeah.
In Sumatra.
It was a case of I'd ask people, and if they say no, they say no. My motto is, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So
the amount of people that said, "How did you get them on?" I said, "We just asked them."
You know, it's like Ben Hansen. You know, I was surprised he said yes. You know,
I played that one recently, and it's awesome. It's great. I was surprised. I was like, "Oh my god, they got Bill Hansen on! Oh my god!"
I know.
What was it? Everybody called him in there handsome, didn't they?
Handsome.
He's a very handsome man.
Ruling away.
All the girls were swooning in the chat room.
They were swooning in the chat room, yeah. And then we had people like Richard Felix on, and then we had a coup where we got Uri Geller on, and that was, I never expected.
I really enjoyed that because it was talking about the overlooking people during the war and things like that, and I'm not sure personally that he could do everything he said he was doing, but that's by the by. The man did some really good stuff along the way.
I loved his story about running into James Randi.
Yeah.
Yes.
James Randi's attention actually helped Uri Geller's career. He wanted to shake his hands, and James Randi was a little on the rude side, wasn't he? Basically, go away in no uncertain terms, which was ridiculous. But that's James Randi, unfortunately. But he was.
There was a handful of guests that I never thought would say yes. Uri being one of them.
We didn't think Derek would.
Didn't think Derek or Cora would, because as far as I was concerned, we were just
Go on, say it.
a
piddly ass little radio show.
on the internet, you know what I mean? With a few listeners, you know, it wasn't anything big, you know. And I was quite surprised they came on. Richard Freeman came on a few times, didn't he? Talking about various adventures he'd had looking for the Rambek Pendek, the McCullum Membi, and Thylacine, which is the Australian dog.
It's a cross between a wolf in it and a
wolf and a dingo, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's got the back end of it is striped.
But it was, you know, I'm into cryptozoology. You know, I'm sure that there are certain animals out there that are, you know, in the wild somewhere that nobody's actually realised are still alive. You know, So.
And we had, remember the pink-headed duck?
Oh yes.
Oh God.
That was good.
That was at the Weird Weekend. He's looking for a pink-headed duck. Now, to anybody, this is
silly. But it did exist.
Yeah.
And he's out in Burma trying to find it.
And he's nearly been killed.
It's nearly cost him his life twice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Not because people deliberately tried to kill him. We just got idiots on the road with motorbikes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But we had all these people come on, and Eric von Daniken, I never thought he'd say yes, Andy.
That was the one that blew my socks off, as he said. He charges thousands and never works on a Sunday. We paid him precisely zero, and it was on a Sunday.
Yes.
There's all those boxes were being ticked. It was just amazed by that one.
You know, and it was like, God, I can't believe they're saying yes. You know.
Yeah. The other thing I liked about that is he was like a hero to one of our team members, and he was actually here to ask some questions to him. So it was kind of good for him.
Yeah, that's blows. What was the guy's name? The team member, I forget.
Paul Lomas.
Paul.
Oh, Paul. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we had some good people on. We had some bad people on.
That's some strange people.
I never quite did get the super soldier thing where they're supposed to have done a mission on Mars. I'm thinking, no one's going to Mars yet.
And then we had that lady who was great on her first interview, talking about shadow people.
Oh, yeah.
No, she was she was
sorry.
talking about the gin.
She was talking about the gin,
which was
that's right.
great.
And I wanted her back to talk about shadow people. But when she came on, she was putting everything down to the gin.
Yeah.
If it's shadow people, if it's an alien,
if it's
a ghost, it's a gin.
Mm.
And we sat there, didn't we, Andy? And it was like, what?
Anything and everything was the gin.
Yeah. It's like,
Well, we started to think maybe she had too much gin and tonic herself.
Werewolves, it's
the
the
gin.
Yeah.
You know,
Vampires, everything.
vampires and stuff.
Yeah, I think she's gone too far into the gin.
Yeah.
But, I mean, another one that I thought was good, not particularly because it was Derek, but it's because he opened up on that first interview.
Derek Okoro.
On the first one, we did it twice with Derek, didn't we?
Yeah.
On that first interview, he opened up so much that we had to actually check with Gwen,
His wife.
his wife, to get her to listen to it to make sure he hadn't done anything, hadn't said anything untoward on it.
We had to shave
a few minutes off.
But apart from that, we were fine.
And he really did open up about everything, didn't he? Which was because we weren't expecting it, was we?
No, and he was telling us about how he was treated on the show and all this, that, and the other,
and some of the back stuff.
Some of the back stuff, you know.
And as well as stuff that he'd done throughout his life.
But don't get me wrong, he wasn't dissing it all the way through the show.
No,
he was saying how much he enjoyed it.
He actually said he loved doing it.
You know, we were talking about other things as well.
Yeah.
But people wanted to know his side of the story.
Because obviously, because we had the chat room there as well, people could give us questions. So we were passing the questions on to him. So it made for a really good discussion.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about getting people on and actually just discussing, discussing their way of working and how they work and their experiences and just sharing it with the community. It's not about, in a respectful way, you know, it's not about dissing anybody or anything like that. It's about doing it in a really respectful way.
Even when we had the people that came on that we sat there and thought to ourselves, they're talking for us, a load of rubbish. We still gave them a mic and gave them a voice and gave them respect. Mm-hmm. You know,
the thing I found with a lot of them is there was always something in what they were saying that struck a chord.
Yeah.
They just ruined it with everything that was around it.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so many people that we thought this is bobbins, but when they said that bit strikes the chord. Mm. So there was always something there that made you think, even if you didn't believe the whole thing.
Yeah.
Except maybe the Super Soldier.
Another person was Kerry Tatham. I think you had her on the show, haven't you? About the Bermuda Triangle and her journey through it.
Yeah, it was the Reload. It was your show.
It was your show that we played. Yeah, fascinating. Fascinating. Just to listen to people's accounts, you know, gone through things. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. Well, Steve always sat there and said, at the end of the day, I'm learning every week, you know, and that's the way we looked at it. Whether it was good or bad or indifferent, we were learning something. Yeah. We could take something away from it. We
would get an okay that somebody was coming on, and then we go, what the bloody hell are we going to ask them?
Yeah.
We know nothing about that, so we had to obviously get online and start picking things up, just so we didn't look completely stupid.
So it was great when Andy joined us, you know, because we had that other person to bounce off.
Yeah, I find that when you get a guest on and you're not sure, you know that they're in the field, obviously, and you know basically what they do, but then you go, right, God, like you said, what am I going to do? How am I going to take the interview forward? And you do Google search and you go, God, I don't know anything about that. And it's quite daunting, but it's just finding a direction to lead the guest through, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like Eric von Daniken. I didn't know nothing about these ancient aliens and all this, that and the other. So I'm glad Andy were there.
Yeah, and Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I found with most of them, you only needed 5 questions.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't get any more than that out, because they would give you an answer and it would lead directly onto something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you could work from them. The nightmare was people that went, yes.
Yeah.
And you're like searching then for the next thing, aren't you? Thinking, where do I go with that?
Yeah.
And we did have a few that were like that, didn't we, unfortunately?
Yeah.
So
But,
my question to you next is, I say, listening to the replays that we're doing on Parasearch, I'm finding some of the guests you've had on absolutely fascinating. And you do find that they are opening up to you in a way that you wouldn't expect. I mean, I was blown away by the Uri Geller. I learned so much more about him than the media perception that is out there about him. Out of all the guests you did, which one surprised you the most in that way?
Well, Derek, in a way, because of what he came up with.
Because of what he came out with.
Because he was really open.
Yeah, he wasn't hiding anything at all.
No.
And it didn't matter what questions came in on Facebook, he answered them.
Yeah, or on the chat room.
Or on the chat room, it was there, and he just answered it straight.
Yeah.
There was no hiding behind it. So I suppose from that point of view, Derek, obviously Yuri, because as far as I knew, he was a great spoon bender.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else about him, to be honest, and it was a good learning curve. Like I say, even if you don't, whatever guest you get, even if you don't believe everything that's coming across, you always learn something.
Richard Freeman was one for me because of the hidden animals.
Yeah, you're into the cryptozoology stuff, aren't you?
But JFK with Andy was one that you liked, didn't you?
I did like that.
That was over my head. I didn't know anything about JFK.
And I mean, obviously, I knew he was murdered, and I knew it was in the same year that Sue was born. But I had to go online, and I knew roughly where Andy was going to come from. So I deliberately looked for the opposite.
It's Jack the Ripper one I like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and to everybody listening, it sounded like me and Andy was having an argument. But when it all stopped, we was laughing.
Got a bit heated to do
one
that
of the
one.
things we did.
Yes.
But the Jack the Ripper one I liked as well because I'm into Jack the Ripper, which takes me to Jeff Mudgett. I don't know whether you've heard him yet, but his great grandfather was the serial killer H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, America's first serial killer.
And the very first serial killer. He has this idea that H.H. Holmes is Jack the Ripper because he went to London at the same time as the killings, and when he left London, the killings stopped. And there's been some murders in America, in Chicago, in his murdered castle and everything, where there has been mutilations, similar mutilations, taking out the, the hearts and God knows what else.
I mean, we've been watching the TV program that they're doing on it, and to read some of the initial headlines from there.
Yeah.
That even people from Scotland Yard came over to America to check something out because there was Ripper-esque murders in America.
Yeah. So
and for those of you that don't know H.H. Holmes, get on the internet. The guy murdered somewhere in the region of 200 people.
Yeah. Just in that alone, it's interesting. Having the connection with Jack the Ripper aside, but the show that's on at the moment, and you can actually watch it online if you go onto the History Channel. You can watch all the episodes. The way they're going through it and how they're finding similarities with Jack the Ripper. I do think we both think that they are reaching a little bit, but it just seems quite interesting about the parallels of the two murderers,
I think we had him actually on the show.
I don't think he's going to find
the proof he wants.
To be honest with you, but I haven't seen all the shows yet. And but I'm interested to find out his results. But just H.H. Holmes himself is quite an interesting story.
Yeah, anybody interested in serial killers, they should definitely check that one out.
Yeah.
Remember, as we said on the day when he was on with us, it was a shame really because he had a very, very interesting story in the Holmes' story, being his descendant relative. He didn't really need to bring Jack the Ripper into it at all because there's enough story there to make a good program out of it. But he didn't.
Yeah, which is what he originally had him on for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for people that don't know, Holmes actually built a hotel with lots of fake rooms and shoots down to the basement.
Yeah.
And it was called his murder castle.
Yeah, he was gassing them, and then sending them down the chute, and then covering them in lime.
And cutting them up and all sorts.
Cutting them up and disemboweling them, which I assume he was selling the body, the parts for money, because that's what people used to do back in the day.
He even put the skeletons together and sold them to medical people.
Yeah,
and that was all
cottage industry then, really.
Yeah, and that was all during the World's Fair.
Yeah.
It is predominantly circumstantial, but it's a fascinating story in itself. You know, I mean, the fact that was all so organised is nothing like what Jack the Ripper, the real man, was doing in London. But it's just one of a number of people we kind of had almost before the curve, because we had people like Neil Spring on before his TV programme was on Harry Price, that was on earlier this year. We had him on before he did that, when he was writing it. So quite a few times we've had people on who've gone on from afterwards and become better known, become more famous. So
that was a good show.
We actually beat TV.
We beat the TV, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You were definitely the trendsetters of the day on the paranormal field, weren't you?
We tried.
We didn't want to be, for want of a better word, I didn't want to be the queen of the paranormal, because that was part of some of the things that I was being called.
Right.
Because, in the animosity, because for some reason certain people thought, well, my last group thought that that's what I wanted to be, but it wasn't. I just wanted to share everything.
I mean, unfortunately for us, it didn't help that if you put Shadow Seekers into Google at the time, the first 5 pages was all stuff that we'd done.
A little jealousy there, I feel.
Yeah.
I think on a lighter note, of all the serious stuff we did, I think the one we did with John Downs when he came on to advertise The Next Weird Weekend.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
That was with Richard, wasn't it?
Yeah, Richard was on with him, but the pair of them were just bouncing off each other, and we were all laughing.
We were just in stitches. Was you there for that one, Andy?
No, I wasn't. That's before my time.
Yeah, everybody was just laughing. It was so funny.
Just laughing, and they were just bouncing off each other.
I mean, you got 2 serious cryptozoologists that have travelled all over the world looking for extinct animals and trying to prove that they're still there. And it was like a comedy show, wasn't it?
It was really like a comedy show.
So interspersed with all the serious stuff that was coming out, they were just making us laugh. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Jonathan Downs actually did a massive investigation, I think you would call it, into the Loch Ness Monster as well, didn't he? Got funding.
Yes, he did,
right,
yes.
Yeah, I remember watching that on TV. I think they did a episode on it or something, didn't they?
So, yeah.
Some of the shows you have done, I think one that we had replayed not that long ago that really caught people's attention was when we had John Blackburn in with the Englishman painting, the painting itself, the actual seance you had. Yes. That was quite something special, that particular show, wasn't it?
It was, and we were feeling stuff from the picture here. Because he brought it into the studio with him.
Yeah.
That's right. We've had that played, haven't we, Andy?
Recently, because of the strange noises that we've picked up on the recording that we've never did hear before or after a show. It was only on that show, including that phone ringing in the background. We could hear mumbled voices in the distance. You couldn't make them out, but it would never happen before or since. It was a very strange show, that one. Oh, that's one that sticks in my memory, certainly.
The other thing that I thought was good. It was a bit of a headache at the time for both ends, especially the other end, because all the computers went down on them. Was when we did when we linked live to your investigation with the picture.
Oh yes, of course, yes. That was in OSIFs in down here near Clacton. We did the cage, and we did a live feed to you guys, because that was before I was directly involved. But that was great fun. I remember doing that. We did I think I did the regression with John on that night as well, which is quite interesting too. We kind of tapped into the picture. That was a good one.
All the equipment you had, you ended up with one laptop that worked.
Yeah.
Everything else went down on the night.
Yeah.
That was often the problem with that place. When you're actually there, things do tend to go awry. But I think we should tell the story about how I actually became involved from being a listener
You
to
was
how
actually in the chat room, wasn't you?
Yeah. It was originally on the Wednesday night, wasn't it? Right.
And
I found you totally by chance. I'd been ill, not been too well. I was just sort of fiddling around on the internet and just came across you guys purely by chance on what was on the Wednesday night, and that was sort of started from there. When I used to phone in, didn't I, after your guest and give a review of the show, which it was rather arrogant actually thinking about it now, but it was good fun.
Yeah, you were a bit. You were on the guest that we had.
He was, as you know, Andy can be quite opinionated. And
Really? I hadn't noticed that.
And all his opinions he was putting on the chat box. There was some of the arguments going on in the chat box.
Yeah.
Just because of what Andy was saying.
Usually me in the middle of it, yeah. Well, I think probably the worst one was...
He asked a question and he was moaning at me because I hadn't answered it because I thought it was a little bit contrived.
but Andy used to deliberately wind people up in there.
Yeah.
No, of course I didn't.
Yes, you-
He does the same in our chat room as well. Don't worry.
Yeah, well,
he hasn't changed at all.
There was
Steve
the
Taggart
new age... Sorry.
we had his missus in here because she used to monitor the chat room on a laptop.
Steve Mercer's
and Andy used to wind his missus up on purpose.
Oh, absolutely. I think the incident that always sticks in my memory is when I called something or someone new age twaddle. Do you remember that? Absolutely exploded at me then. I think it was someone we don't have on the shows at all, but he rather took offence that we called something new age twaddle. He did cause absolute eruptions in there.
Oh my goodness.
New age twaddle.
Is that the one that I never aired?
No, that was going to go on to that in a minute, actually. Of all the shows, we always put them up, didn't we? They always went straight onto YouTube afterwards, apart from one, which we won't say anything more about, that was just a very strange night.
I can't even remember who it was. You'll have to remind me later.
Oh, I can remind you. You'll remember if you give it a bit of thought. But it was.
But no, I must admit, we have only one show where somebody lost it.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, I remember it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you do remember. Yeah.
he basically lost it, and then at the end of the show afterwards, he turned around and said, "Oh, I was having a bad day." And I thought, well, if that was the case,
the only reason, yeah.
cancelled, you know.
But then he kind of turned the table and started blaming us for everything, like it was somehow our fault that we wouldn't. He'd asked us not to put it up, and he was telling us everybody, "Oh, they won't put it up. They're
They won't
blocking
put
it."
it up, you know, because they don't want me to say things or something, you know. And I thought, well, you've told me not to put it up, you know. So, but that was only once out of 4
Oh
years.
Yeah.
So
I think, I mean, one thing I'm proud of, I mean, as an investigation team, we was the first to do a public invest abroad.
we did Dracula's Castle in Romania.
We went to Grand Castle,
wow.
which
We've done it twice.
which leads me to a show I was very proud of. Not because it was anything spectacular from a paranormal point of view. We found out that, I don't know whether you want us to say the name, but we found out that a team was ripping people off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't say the name.
And we had the people that were being ripped off on and talking about how it went and stuff like that. And it went through the roof on the chat room, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Basically, this company, well, they
were a company.
classed as a company.
Yeah, they weren't a team.
Oh yeah, no, they were a professional company.
They had one woman. We had one woman who'd give me a script to read, a letter to read. She'd come from, I think it was Canada.
Yeah.
She'd booked to go on to 2 investigations with this group. She'd paid over 1,500 quid to come from Canada to London. She'd booked a hotel. They were then going to drive this particular investigation all the way to Romania. She was just about to get on the plane and she got a text message to say it was cancelled.
Oh, goodness.
It turned out
that one wasn't for remand. She was going to.
Oh, she was going to Colditz.
She was going to Hitler's bunker.
Oh, that's it.
Hitler's
bunker. Yeah, but she'd also booked to go to Romania.
She booked on the other one.
Another incident they did was...
Actually, if I just stop for a second, funny enough, I listened to it again fairly recently. It was actually Colditz they were going to, and they were literally told...
They went to Colditz and
they had the car park, didn't they? It was literally just the car park.
Yes, because Colditz now is actually a hotel.
And they don't do investigations. And one woman was told she didn't shut up. She was going to be made to make her own way home.
They're going to throw her off the coach.
And throw her off the coach. There were lots of problems with that one. So much so it went on to rip off Britain.
Right.
Programme. Yeah. It was mentioned on there.
Yeah. We actually, because we knew they were supposed to be going to Bran, we actually contacted them because obviously being the first to have done it,
we recommended them, not them.
We recommended that they got other teams in.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it to him, and he said, well, they contacted us, but they never booked. And yet they were selling tickets for it.
Ridiculous.
This is becoming a thing at the moment in the paranormal field, still to this day, abroad investigations. And we are going to be doing a show on it because it's a very murky field about what you can and what you can't do on abroad investigations and what you need to check and all the stuff that you need to be aware of. Because UK is slightly different because at least you're on home ground. But when you book to go abroad, it brings in a whole different ball game, doesn't it?
Yeah. When we did Bran Castle,
we sold the invest. That was it.
We sold the invest, and it cost £100. Even we had to pay £100 because they wanted $2,500. Yeah. We put it out there, and we said to Bran Castle, if I don't sell it by February, this was about September time, if I don't sell it by February, I'll let you know. And we booked it for May.
And we told everybody not to book their flights.
And we said to everybody,
until we cleared it.
You're paying for the investigation. You are responsible for your flight and your accommodation. Because I didn't want to go down that road.
No.
And I was a bit worried about it.
It'd be a complete nightmare, wouldn't it?
And I thought it would be a complete nightmare. And we had people coming from America as well. And I said to them, don't book your flights until I tell you. We got to February, and the first one we was on, we were £600 short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Steve said, we'll do this.
We'll do it.
And we paid that out of our own money, the £600 that we were short.
We thought it was going to be the only chance we were going to get.
Yeah. We thought it's a trip of a lifetime.
Oh, we went.
I've always wanted to go. I was quite surprised they said yes. They originally wanted $3,500, and I said, what part of non-profit did you not understand?
and they came back and went, well, how much do you want to pay? And
I said $1,800, and he went $2,500, and I went, oh, all right then. I'll see.
But they were lovely people, weren't they?
They were lovely people.
They were with us all the way.
Yeah, and basically, we said, don't book your flights. And when it came to February, I said, right, you can book your flights now. And we had 3 or 4 people saying, oh, I booked them in October. And I thought, what? Because I told you not to, because I thought to myself, if I get to February and I didn't sell it, because I'd made it paid by backs instead of through PayPal, I could send them the whole lot of the money they paid.
Straight back to them.
Whereas PayPal, I would have lost their charges and what have you.
Yeah.
And I thought, then I wouldn't have nothing to worry about. But when they said they booked the flights, I thought, God, I'm glad we're going,
Yeah.
And he said, why don't you come back next year? And I thought, oh, I'd love to.
So we did.
So we said, I'll do the same again. If we sell it, then we'll let you know a couple of months in advance. If we don't, we'll let you know and cancel it. He went, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and we sold it out, didn't we, that one?
And we sold that one out.
We sold that one out.
And it wasn't as good for us as the first time, was it?
It was really strange. I mean, the invest itself wasn't as good, but on the first one, we didn't get to do much of the invest.
No, because we had TV.
He turned around and said to us, do you mind if we get the media to come in? And we're thinking newspapers, because that's what you'd get over here.
Yeah.
We ended up with 6 of the top
television
news stations, come on. giving interviews for half the night.
I looked a mess because I'd gone for an investigation.
Yeah, you're not dressing for TV when you do investigations, are you?
I looked a mess. I was all dolled up, didn't have no makeup on, my hair was pulled back.
And your fleece on, keeping warm.
Fleece on, keeping warm, and I'm on bloody Austria and Croatia TV and in the paper.
and I suddenly found I could speak Romanian.
Yeah, he was overdubbed. So I've still got footage of that as well.
But it was really good.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I can say in my cap that I can say we actually did Europe.
We did Europe.
But on the other side of that, I think the fact that we did the show about the rip-off that was going on, is a real light-hearted, bit of fun, nothing too serious, but that was a really important show to do. So it needed to be said. It needed to be out there. There are people, and it wasn't just that one company. There are others as well that
at that time, they were still selling stuff.
Yeah. There's been one company that's been out a couple of times, and I cannot, for the life of me, think how they can say, we're going for 3 days or 4 days, it's including your accommodation and your flights, and I'm thinking,
that's risky.
That's risky to me. No,
I mean, they're doing it, they're going, but to us, it sounds really risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm out of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the company's still doing things like that out there now, so you do have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, it got to a stage with us, to be honest with you, that we wasn't selling as much, was we? And
no, towards the end, we were
getting fed up with it.
We were struggling a little bit, and I think we were getting fed up, which showed on the nights as well.
Yeah.
So,
and we thought after 9 years, enough's enough.
Yeah, we've done it 9 years. We did the KTPF for
4 years.
4 years on the show, but
that was running for 10 years altogether.
That was 10 years altogether, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
it was getting that point where I think when I came on board as a regular co-host, it sort of inject a bit of enthusiasm and life in, because I know you guys were feeling it already at that point, and I think maybe I managed to get another 6 months out of them.
Bled them right to the end.
Well, it was clear when you get to that point that you guys had reached where it was no longer fun, you weren't enjoying it. They really wasn't.
Yeah, I think
and some of the guests were a bit hard as well. So that
maybe names, there were a few that were a bit like.
They were getting, shall we say, from our point of view, a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had about one guest that stuck in my mind. We'd asked them to talk about one particular topic, not another one they were involved in. And they said, yeah, fine, that's no problem. Within 10 minutes, they're talking about the other topic, which is like, well, we didn't want you talking about that. It was this particular area. But yeah, so I think that was part of the reason. Well, it was definitely excellent fun. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, all in all, we had some good fun.
We did.
And we're grateful for Andy for joining us as well.
Yeah, he gave us a lot of support there, because not only from his knowledge, but the banter between us all, it really worked.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I cut my teeth doing this at all. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing when I first got involved. It just seemed to work. The three of us sort of kind of, Steve and I got into some almighty rows, but it was all it was exploring topics. It wasn't being nasty with each other. It was actually discussing. I think some people got the wrong idea, thought it was like actually at war with each other, but no, we were both passionately talked about stuff from a different point of view, which really brought the ideas out, and it helps you kind of form your own thoughts and ideas when you discuss it with somebody else.
It's like a heated discussion rather than an argument, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And like you say, out of those discussions, it can bring something else out that you wouldn't expect necessarily, or change your thought pattern a little bit to how you perceive stuff. So they are important, as long as you're both coming from the same place. It's just a heated discussion, not an actual row.
Yeah.
I'm glad your listeners are actually enjoying the reboots. So
Yeah, they are. They're really enjoying them. I mean, I'm really enjoying listening to them as well. I mean, I'm learning stuff all the time, and I can't believe, as I say, some of the guests you've had on is absolutely phenomenal.
Well, when we first started, it was supposed to be an hour show.
Yeah.
But an hour is sometimes never long enough, is it?
Well, at one point, we were nearly 3 hours.
I think certainly when I first got involved, it was down to me. I used to keep dragging it out and keep talking about various things. And the first few I was involved in were all over 3 hours. Because what I do now with the show that the people hear of through Parasearch is just the interviews. I cut them down to the interviews itself because we did a lot of kind of news and media stuff and what was on TV and what's been on the news. Before we had the main guest, Steve used to do a roundup of ghost sort of stories in the news, and I would do a roundup after the guest of sort of mystery and conspiracy stuff. So, and we had a post-guest discussions, and for quite a while, of course, you were 2 guests a night. It wasn't just the one guest. So often things were dragged out to 3 hours plus because we just sort of kept going.
Yeah, that first one was we thought to ourselves, how are we going to keep it going for an hour?
Yeah.
And the very first show was an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's surprising because despite the fact you don't know the subject they're talking about, your mind starts to work and you're suddenly coming up with questions, and it's like it pushes it along, and then they'll say, well, that's a very good question. I haven't been asked that one before. And you think to yourself, yes.
Absolutely. That's it. I mean, just to sort of give you an idea, or you, the listeners, an idea of how I tend to do these things, I don't have notes about the guest that's coming up. I don't do much research about them. If I know nothing, then I'll always have a look. But if I don't know much, I'll just go with what they're saying. You know, they're obviously come on to us. They want to talk about what they're researching or book they've written or what they're involved in. And you can build your questions around what they're saying to you, and that's what we found we did, didn't we, guys?
First question, though, Andy, to start them off.
If I have a direction, at least.
So how did this come about? It's always good.
I think when Jeff Mudgett came on, he had just released a book, hadn't he?
Yeah.
He came on to actually talk about the book.
Yeah, and about his great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
You know, and about what had happened.
Because he came back on later, didn't he? And another time, and he did actually mention about the TV show, but we never heard anything, so we didn't think it was going to happen, did we?
No.
No, we've been talking about it. It was the possibility of a film as well, wasn't it? That was sort of bouncing around. I imagine the TV show came from the film idea because he was talking to some quite major characters, or major actors who'd be appearing in the film he mentioned.
It's a very interesting programme if your listeners want to watch it. As I say, you can see all the episodes on the History Channel online.
Yeah.
It is very interesting.
Even if it's just about H.R. Holmes himself.
Yeah.
A man.
Because the one they're doing now in the next episode, they've found this place that he used to own, and back in the day, as you probably know, people had put like concrete overcoats on people and put them into the river, you know, and that he used to bury them in barrels or something.
Apparently.
And they've done a scan of the ground, you know, under the river. And apparently, according to this guy who does the scans, he said if there's divots in the debris under the water, that means there's something down there. So now they're trying to get...
they've actually found a nice big block they're going to try and get up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he owned a cement factory and never sold cement.
Yeah.
No.
So basically, they need to get permission to be able to dig and get whatever's
to get the
down
divers
there.
down there to get it.
Yeah. So that's the next episode.
But they're actually hoping to get some actual remains in the concrete.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I think it's a waste of time because there's lime in concrete, and that would destroy any evidence.
Certainly.
So. But they're also going to exhume the body, and I've got a feeling there's going to be nothing in the coffin.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
That would just add to the mystery, I feel.
It sounds like, although essentially this isn't actually paranormal, you certainly still have an interest in the mysteries stuff as well. That's not completely died out then, even though you're now doing other things, which we'll get on to in a minute. I know we've not got a lot of time left, actually. Do you want to tell us what you guys have been up to post KTPF? What happened afterwards?
Well, basically, as you know, we were doing the show on Worsley Radio as well as online, which was an internet-based radio station. We continued with Worsley for a while, didn't we? And then Ray packed it in for a little while. He had a break, but we're back on there. But we decided to go into music, and I've got a love of rock and roll and rockabilly. doo-wop and jump blues. So I decided to try and do...
That was Ray's fault.
Yeah, that was Ray's fault.
We tried to get a friend of ours who used to do DJing, and he knows a hell of a lot about rock and roll, rockabilly, and all that kind of stuff. We got him the program to do it with, and
he dragged his
feet. And then
because
every time Ray connected with us, he kept playing the same music.
Yeah.
and we said we got loads more of that. And he said, "Well, why don't you do it then?"
Yeah.
So
and then I started doing that, and Steve likes country music, so he's been doing a country radio thing. And we've now got our own online radio station. Steve's got a country music one, I've got a rock and roll one.
Yep.
And they're doing really well. The shows are doing well. They're in America, and you've got one in Australia.
I've got one in Australia, I've got one in New Zealand.
Yeah. So, and we're also, as I say, on Hayes FM, which is down in West London.
Yeah, the one in New Zealand is actually playing all my back shows.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So, because I was on 50 something when they contacted us, and I just sent all the old shows over to him. So he's been playing them, and as soon as he runs out, he'll ask me for more.
So, but during the time I was doing the KTPF, I did get a certificate from the Pigs team, achievement certificate in recognition of biggest contribution to paranormal unity. So we were recognised for it.
Now you've got to tell them what PIG stands for.
I could say, yeah, we have to mention that bit.
Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Service. They're a bunch of ex-coppers, and because of the way they used to do investigations as police, they incorporate that now with their investigations. So the ghost is actually the unsub. The suspect, unknown suspect.
So they approach it like a crime scene.
They approach investigations like a crime scene.
Yeah, because they're not a public company, are they? They're a team on their own.
Yeah, they're still going as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
do a lot in Jersey as well. Jersey and Guernsey.
But we've had paranormal teams come on and talk about themselves as well. So again, we had the sharing and everything, but we enjoy doing our music now, don't we?
Yes, and we have been on 2 Invest since we stopped.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
We have done 2 since we stopped.
We went to Mill Street Barracks, didn't we? First of all, in Liverpool,
which was fun, but we wanted to just do it, and we ended up being part of the team for the night.
Yes, it's customers with us, so But the thing is, the way I am at the moment with my health, I wanted to do it so if I get tired about 1 o'clock, I can come home. I don't have to stay there till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one of the reasons why we stopped as well.
Which is your health. One of the main reasons why we stopped doing investigations. Then we went up to see my son a couple of weeks ago for a few days, and we found out that he was doing the Pontefract House.
30 East Drive.
Yeah. And
so we went up
the following week, so we met him up there and stayed there for a few hours, and nothing happened though.
Nothing much from our point of view, anyway.
No. So
I think they got quite a bit of personal stuff.
Yeah. Which is what we used to get on investigations.
Yeah, but no poltergeist activity then at 30 East Drive.
There was nothing.
Not on the night, anyway.
Not on the night. So.
I mean, there was. It's definitely got an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But personally, I think it's overpriced for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a long time there. Our son was there from 6
until 12.
Until 12 the following day.
Oh, right. Blimey, yeah, it's a long time.
You get a long time there.
But you can only take no more than 10 people.
It's a basic 2 up, 2 down. And that's your fine. And it cost them just over 400 quid for that.
Yeah.
So
it's such a small location, though. You couldn't have more than 10 people in there anyway.
No, you can't. It's basically a team invest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really take the public because there's too many.
Public.
Yeah.
So, but apparently my son was telling me that a couple of weeks prior to him, they had 30 people in there.
Oh, grief.
30? It must have been a party.
Somebody said there had 30 people in there. Somebody
it must have been a house party rather than an investigation, surely.
Yeah,
because you got...
Because even we were hearing people upstairs, weren't we?
Yeah, you got a box room, you got 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and 2 rooms downstairs.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You know,
So it's not as if you can.
You have to be quiet.
Yeah, you can't really separate people.
No.
If you're upstairs, they can hear you downstairs. So you can't really hide in areas that people are not going to hear.
The bit that made me laugh, there was a sign on the door in the on the dividing door between the kitchen, the living room and the dining room, and it was saying, "Please don't take anything away from the house." Some people have done in the past and had to return it because they'd taken away. They ended up getting things happening to them.
Yeah.
Which was
about
really
this.
weird, because apparently the guy that owns it now is the same guy that made the film.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. He was the not the director, sorry, the producer. His name is Bill
Yeah,
Bungy.
but none of the stuff in there is the original.
No, it's just been done up like it, hasn't it?
Yeah. So obviously, people that had it in the first, they took all the stuff with them, and they've just replaced it with other stuff.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that anything in there would have anything attached to it.
No.
I think it's just to add to the
So-
ambience of give you that experience of what
it does.
might have been like back in the time when the activity happened.
Yeah. But
It's almost,
having said
it's
that,
almost like a set, isn't it? A film set.
it is now, but that doesn't mean that the poltergeist or spirit is not still there at some point.
No,
That's true.
It
That's very
wasn't.
true.
Wasn't around that night.
It wasn't there for us on the night.
But it's, you know, we found that a lot when we was investigating. You can go to a place and nothing had happened. You can go back the next time and all hell could break loose.
Oh, Andy was saying this about the Hellfire Caves. We visited the Hellfire Caves at the weekend, and Andy said exactly the same thing. He did it 3 times, didn't you, Andy?
Yeah, 4 times. 3
4,
times
sorry.
nothing, 1 time, 3 times nothing, well, virtually nothing, 1 time amazing. So you do have that problem, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Good. Anyway, guys, on that note, thank you so much for joining us. We've actually come to the end of the show. Oh,
Okay.
really, really appreciate you coming on and telling us your stories. It's been fascinating listening to the other side of it, the other side of the KTPF radio show that we're playing. And it's been fascinating listening to some of the shows that you've allowed us to play on Parasearch. So, again, thank you for allowing us to do that.
No
No,
problem.
you're welcome.
And I wish you both continued success with your show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Now, guys out there, thank you so much for joining us in the chat room. It's been interesting, as always, watching what you're commenting on. I'm sure Andy is going to feel Richard in what happened to the anguished man painting.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is a
another
long
time.
story. So.
So I just want to give a shout out to James, Kaz, Richard, David and Joe. They were all in there tonight. So thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. Don't forget, we have shows going out every single night of the week. Monday, it's the Parasearch UK radio show replay from Thursday night. But I have a little rant on that show, so it's worth a little listen to that one, because I very rarely have a little rant, but I definitely had a little rant on that show. On Tuesday, we've got the Paranormal Concept show. That is the Enigma Project with John Blackburn. On Wednesday is Haunted Histories, and we're looking at, I can never say this word, Povelgia Island.
That place, yeah.
That place, yeah, but fascinating. On Thursday, we have the KTPF Reload show, so make sure you tune it in and listen to that one. What one is it going to be this week, Andy?
Well, I've actually had a bit of a request from from Dave Erickson about we had Rosemary Joan Gully on a while ago. I'm going to see if I can dig that one up and put that on for this week, as it's actually a request, so that will be the one.
Fantastic. And then on Friday, we have the Dark Mirror show. We are doing part 2 of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I've been told off by not referring to the Sir on that one.
As a lady.
And then on Sunday, I am talking to the lovely Mark Richardson on the Spirit Dimension. So once again, thank you so much all for joining us. Thank you again, Sue and Steve, for joining us, and Andy, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I'll say good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.